Hey, everybody. Got another
Well,
question here
hey.
today. What?
Well, hey.
The world. We are a software startup, and our product is superior to the legacy brands in the market, but we aren't getting traction, and we have a dismal conversion rate on SQL sales qualified leads. What are we doing wrong? I have some ideas, but Eric, I'm gonna let you kick us off.
So that's our question, and I like it. It's a good one. So I would say a couple of things, kind of off the bat at first blush. So number one, I think that there's a key word at the beginning of the question as you read it, startup. So the first thing that I think I would be remiss not to call attention to is the fact that we have this saying that's become a cliche in business. Well, nobody got fired for hiring IBM, and so there's definitely a reason that legacy brands get to become legacy brands because people view them as being reliable. People view them as, and so I think that right off the bat, there's something to acknowledge the position that a startup naturally is going to be in. Um, versus a incumbent brands in the marketplace. So there's that.
So to just quickly add a note to that part
Yeah.
too, and since we're discussing software, an area that we are very familiar with, given the amount of conversations we have, and I appreciate the specificity, so I understand a little bit more. But the other issue that we see in software is that people can create really good products that are like specific for whatever the product and service is, and they're great to compared to whatever came before it. The issue isn't necessarily how good the software is; it's the fact that there's not an ecosystem around it. Whereas, like a lot of legacy brands have platforms and other things that these new features will just show up in, and so they don't have to worry about one-off sales. They're getting the whole package when they sell it in a bundle.
The other thing that I really wanted to talk about on this, and I don't think, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that it specifies in the question whether, I mean, it sounds like this is business software based on, I'm inferring that by the language of the question, but I don't think that they say that outright. This could be potentially a consumer product.
Yep.
If it is a business product, the thing that I would really look at is the fact that if you're selling software to a business, there are going to be, you've got a picture of that person that you're trying to help, and you've crafted a really superior product for that person, or that type of person. But the thing is that especially when you're selling software, and especially when you're selling it to businesses, there are going to be a lot of people in that proverbial room when the decision is getting made, and there are a lot of people that are going to be weighing in. And if you're doing a good job of getting leads, and you're doing a good job of qualifying them, and the question was specific in saying that they're losing at the point that they're trying to convert a sales qualified lead to an actual sale. There is, I would say that the chances are very, very high that there is somebody involved in that decision, in that buying group, that you don't sound great to. And it could be that the IT person, whether it's a CIO or a director of IT, has a voice, and they're looking for something that fits better into their corporate technology stack, and maybe that's not you. Maybe it's the CFO that doesn't like your contract terms versus the competitor. Maybe it's the fact that you've tailored a solution for the people who are using a software as opposed to the people who are actually making the decisions. And making a software that's great to use and that has a superior user experience is definitely a fantastic thing to do on the one side. But on the flip side, um, you have to make sure that you're also positioning it for the actual sale. And I would suggest that you take a really, really hard look at all of the people that are involved in that decision and figure out where it is that your message is falling short, or what objection you're not answering, or what piece you're missing, and making a really good case for somebody to take a flyer on you instead of the incumbent brand. And to add just one more note on that, the other thing that a lot of people don't think about in terms of business purchases, especially, is that your number one job when you're selling to a manager in a business is that you've got to, when somebody chooses you, they have to perceive that as a good career move. And so what are you doing to help that person, and what are you giving them that's going to advance their career that the incumbent can't? And it could be that that's where you're losing as well.
And I think the to put a fine point on it, what Erik is saying is that if you can understand what is driving those losses at that stage, then you can at least work to close the gap. And then on the flip side of it, like let's say that you discover something that isn't necessarily that changeable. Maybe your pricing structure or the way some of the business works around this is truly just not aligned with those people who are making purchasing decisions, and that can't be changed. Then the question becomes, well, what did we have in common with our successes? And then how can we start to align our SQLs with our MQLs and our prospects and so on, so that basically we're putting more emphasis on the things that are succeeding versus opening up the floodgates and
That's a
and
good point. Maybe we've got the wrong leads.
exactly, which is like, so you could have an MQL prospecting issue instead, or at least, you know, if you've diagnosed that your losses are occurring because of good reasons, then it's about making sure that the people who are reaching out to you have a little more information up front so that they can naturally, you know, take themselves away. So that way you're not having to sift through all of that and try to find the metaphorical needle in the haystack. You kind of give the market that decision making. That's a hard one to do, you know, like I feel like 9 times out of 10, Erik, it's this comes down to that area of like, should we put pricing on our website or not? Like, should their pricing be publicly available and should it be listed, or should we allow sales to handle this? I feel like that gets into that area where that's often a very, like, if a business can figure out how to streamline their marketing in a way that does create transparency in their pricing structure, and they're finding success in fueling it, then it's really hard for competitors to be opaque and still beat them. So basically, like, once one of your competitors is being transparent about this and everybody feels like that it's a good enough deal, then it kind of takes away from their competitor's ability to maintain that opaque nature of their pricing.
I think that that's a good point, and it's a good and it's definitely a good way to differentiate. Every marketplace has room for someone who's honest, and someone who is willing to be transparent. So I think that there's definitely something to that. And I think that you've hit on something there. And the other thing that popped into my head as you were talking, especially in terms of the piece about whether or not they've misqualified some of those SQLs. You know, the problem that was actually raised in the question on closer inspection is they're talking about an issue with conversion rate. They perceive that more of those lost sales are going to the bigger, more ingrained competitors, but at the same time, we the thing that they brought was the conversion rate. They didn't say that they're unhappy with the growth of their business. They didn't say that they're unhappy with their sales numbers. What they're perceiving is that they're losing too many, and it's about dollars that are left on the imaginary table that we keep in our minds. So maybe maybe your intuition was correct. Maybe we've got too many of the wrong leads slipping through the cracks, and maybe we haven't thought enough about what gives us what the key ingredients to success are that get us to closing deals.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's
bravo
those are all the different ways we can kind of look at that issue, and then we could zero in as maybe something becomes a lot clearer to us. But that's how we would start to look at it from a holistic standpoint, and then start to untangle that knot. Sometimes we've been in situations, right, Eric, where sometimes people say they have conversion rate issues, and they don't actually. Like they should be getting more sales, and really that isn't the issue. It ends up being that they just want more sales. They refer to the rate. So sometimes there's language issues in this area, and we just have to be really clear about what the problem is.
And I'm going to and I'll even be a little bit vulnerable here, and I'll say, this question actually reflects part of my past. I started, or I don't know, 8 years ago, I tried launching a software product that didn't go as well as I wanted it to. And, we were always losing to the big competitors. And I can say 100% that that we were thinking that we really had our heads stuck in what we thought was going to make the people using the software happy, and we didn't think enough about what was going to make the person that was actually going to purchase the thing happy. What was that higher thing that they were looking for that would enable them to fund this for their marketing people that would be using it. And so I definitely resemble this question. It hits close to home. These are things that happen to all of us. None of us are immune. And so I'm going to close it out by saying, really dig into your sales process. Look at the leads that you're losing. Look at the ones that you're getting. Look at who's involved with the decision-making process. And I guarantee you that there's gold there that you're missing.
All right. I feel good about it.
Have we, was that a good punctuation for this one?
Yeah. It's about as far as we could take it for now.
All right. Well, we will call this question answered. We've got the email address at the bottom of the screen for anybody who would like to send us a question, and we'll definitely catch you next time.